Okay, so this is my biology project on Lentil Bobtail, and this is by Von Tunani for Dr. Lau's class, A2. Okay, and this is a picture of it. Okay, so the Lentil Bobtail is basically a intravertebrate animal, and meaning it has no vertebrae, and it's a group of cephalopods, which is a part of a mollusk phylum, and it's closely related to the cuttlefish, and it also tends to have a larger mantle than normal squids, but at the same time, it's a very small animal, as a squid normally is. And it also has 8 suckered arms and 2 tentacles that are pretty small. And also, most of them tend to be males. And the typical male mantle length is about 1 to 8 centimeters, which, as I said before, is very small. And these are just pictures of it. This one over here doesn't really glow, but this one over here actually glows, and I'll talk about later on why that's important in the because of the fact that it lives in such a deep sea environment normally. And so taxonomy for this creature. So the kingdom is Animalia, obviously animal, the most evolved branch of the phylum tree of the animal kingdom, with most of the creatures there. And in the phylum's Mollusca, which is this mollusk, no vertebrae, and the class is Cephalopoda. The order is Cepiolida, and the family is Cepiolidae, and genus is Rondodulitilla, and species is R minor. And the and guess the binomial nomenclature according to Carlos Linnaeus would be Rhodotilia minor, which is I guess a formal name. Let's say in my creature's bobtail. And here's the kingdom cladogram, which over here you can see is archaea, bacteria, the peptidoglycan cell wall, and the nucleus, and how basically this whole entire branching um, is like an evolution of the animal life, which is pertinent to my creature, which is here, the most complex uh, branch of life. And as you can see here, it would have a mouth eater, it would have a multicellular cell structure, and it has a nucleus, as seen by the many common characteristics homologous. And then here's the phylum tree, which is all hand drawn. So basically, there's lots of different phylums specifically to Animalia. For example, there's Parthia, Cnidaria, uh, lots of different animals. And specifically for mine will be the mollusk, and it has these characteristics over here, not these. A quollum, and it has a bilateral symmetry, 3 germ layers, and a protosome development. Also, it has tissues and it has multicellular capabilities. And notice here that there's radial symmetry for this branch, radial symmetry for this branch, despite the fact that my creature in the mollusk branch does not actually have that same symmetry, which is important to look at in this tree because it has bilateral symmetry. Okay, and then also for the subphylum tree, this was kind of hard to find online because the creature is not very well mapped out, I guess. But as you can see from my subphylum tree, it goes from Lockflow Quetzalcoatl to and it branches into two branches with a lot of a lot of characteristics such as the spicular covering and chitones, random characteristics that just differentiate these species from the more broad term for mollusks. And for mine specifically, the cephalopoda, which is right here, it goes through around 4 or 5 branches, but it's basically small squids, snails around or of that nature, very similar creatures. And then, so my creature is very interesting in that most of the time it's in a deep sea environment, and in order to survive in a deep sea environment, it must have a lot of characteristics in order to maintain its life. And one of these characteristics is the fact that it spawns very fast. Uh, it this is important because it increases the number of eggs that are possible, and therefore increases population as fast as possible. Most of these are actually short-lived creatures. Around 3 months is their life, and this is important because their sole purpose of living is probably to reproduce, which is 3 months. And then on top of that, the second characteristic that's very important for these squid is the fact that it has bioluminescent bacteria living inside of it in a symbiotic relationship where the squid actually houses this bacteria, and the bacteria takes a few amino acids and some sugar from the squid, and in return, the bacteria will give the squid a glow or a bioluminescent glow, which is important. Glow because it's important because the squid can now can glow in the dark and find its food. And at the same time, it actually can be blinding at times. For example, the Hawaiian species of this specific species would be able to blast the light to its predators in order to escape from it. Also, the squid also has a characteristic with mucus, where it excretes a lot of mucus from its outer surface. And what this does is that it's able to uh, attract a lot of sand at the bottom of the sea and cover it up and camouflage it from predators also, which is another adaptation that's interesting. Now the food web. This is a pretty simple food web. There wasn't really much I could find in terms of the predators and what it eats, but the lentil bobtail actually eats krill, and it also eats small fish, and it's eaten by leopard seals and emperor penguins. Essentially, lentil bobtail is a small squid, right? So it acts as basically like small fish in its feasibility to eat by predators. And then on top of that, yeah, this is just like a simple food web to show that lentil bobtail isn't producer; it's a consumer as well, but it's a very low level consumer. Hence why there can be so many of them in so many places. And for example, the lentil bobtail is very frequent in the Mediterranean Sea, which you'll see the Mediterranean Sea, and I'll talk about that later. And then also for fossils wise, my creature doesn't have many fossils because it has no bones. There's no really remnant of its living in a far past. But since there's no bones, there's no fossil evidence. But also because the creature still lives today, it's been living for millions of years, and in fact, its specific age is unknown, but it's been living for around 500 a million years or so, and it's actually been traced to be one of the few living creatures that can be found during the Ice Age because of its adaptable characteristics enables it to live in such harsh conditions. Now, in terms of global distribution, natural ranges consist of Spain, Portugal, basically this part of Europe, and the Western Mediterranean Sea. It's a very plentiful creature, and it actually is eaten locally in this area. And that's another good benefit, I guess, for a human perspective of the fact that it spawns so much is that we can actually eat it. And traditionally, this area eats it. It's not much of a global uh, commodity, but it is one used in this area. Now, this is my bibliography, and that's basically the entire presentation about bobtails.